This is the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. On this episode, we're talking about rookie minicamp, man. All the rookies are coming in, plus all those undrafted free agents. And don't forget, we get some of those guys from last year, came in, new draft class. They might be there as well. We want to get to all of that, plus all your questions, your thoughts on this draft class coming in pads, in helmets for the first time. Let's go, everybody. Hello. Welcome in, everybody, man. It's Friday night, man. Kicking back, talking a little Denver Broncos football, and we got stuff to talk about because, like I mentioned in the intro, we got jerseys on, we got helmets on, we got some pads on. There might not be a whole lot of hitting going on, a whole lot of real action happening as of yet, but man, it feels like football is back as the rookies are welcome into Centura Health Training Center, better known as Dove Valley, I think, to all of us. And welcoming in, my name is Keith Brugman. I'm going to be your host. I'm not alone, though. Mr. Trevor Salzman, the Rocket Man. He's here as well. How you doing tonight, Trevor?
Doing well. Hope everybody in the posse is doing well tonight. And Keith, yeah, we're getting a little bit of everything. I mean, we're getting, we're talking about rookie minicamp, rookies getting their jerseys. Also, players getting released maybe a little sooner than we thought. So getting a little bit of everything. But I mean, this is it. This is football. The news in the NFL never stops. NFL is constantly, rolling, and can't wait to dive deep into it and talk with everybody.
Yeah, got to get to the posse. Mr. Clayton coming in here nice and early. Hey, guys, smash that like and share button. Clayton's a better promoter than I most of the time. We do appreciate all the likes. We do appreciate those thumbs up on the way in, the way out. We do appreciate all those subscribes and sharing with all your fellow Broncos friends and family members. It's how we've grown this community so fantastically large, and one that we like to interact with every single time we podcast, man. Kenny Kirkpatrick, one of the horsemen, coming in here and saying good evening to everyone. Happy Friday and start to the weekend. Let's go. Absolutely, let's go. Ernie Mays is ready to go. He says, go Broncos country. Only Bo Nix for 6. And hello to the greatest podcasters. Well, that's amazing. We appreciate that, Ernie Mims. And hello to the greatest fan base that I've ever been a part of, who we call the posse. Thank you, Ernie, for being in here. Yeah, young, hungry, and very talented Broncos. Let's go. Roy Osborne chiming in. Hey there, horseman. And the posse, that's all you. We already talked about that as well. Mr. Phil McLaughlin coming in saying, good evening, Keith, and the Rocket Man, wishing all mothers a happy Mother's Day this Sunday. Thank you. You beat me to the punch, Phil. Absolutely, man. As we're going to be, this is our last podcast after Mother's Day. We do need to wish every single mom out there, every mother, a happy Mother's Day. Hope you have a fantastic evening. Or a fantastic day to yourself. Have a fantastic evening as well tonight. And Mr. Patrick Wiltsey coming in and saying, aloha, Bruggs and the Rocket Man. What are you guys excited about in minicamp wise? That's a great way to get it started, man. That's a great way to get it started. And talking about moms out there, and Miss Pearl's coming in and says, hi, running late. Thank you, Pearl, for coming in. Good to see you. Guys, I keep hearing it's possible that we play the Jets in London. Your thoughts on that as well. So we'll get a couple of them. Patrick Wilsey is wondering what you're most excited about in minicamp wise, man.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's just a chance to see all the rookies, Keith. And we were just talking about it backstage. It's what players going to push to make this roster. I mean, we talked about a couple players last year that were undrafted free agents that made this roster. Guys that weren't expected. Lavelle Bailey's was one of them that wasn't expected to make the roster up front, but earned his way onto the roster and really solidified him a job in the NFL. So it's just, for me, it's seeing the rookie draft class and what that all looks like and what the Broncos have planned for these guys, but it's also the guys that aren't getting talked about enough that we will talk about enough down the road, because there'll be some guys, a few of these players, that usually happens every offseason. A few of these players will end up making this roster, 53-man roster, and make some sort of impact on this team going forward. The biggest surprise of it all is finding out who that exactly is.
Yeah, you're right, man. Lavelle Bailey being one of those names from last year. Frank Crum, who could play big into this year. I mean, he was a big developmental piece for us last year, continues to be a big piece for us. We may need more depth than what we saw last year, offensively and defensively. So, a guy like Frank Crum, we want to continue to see. And Blake Watson, if I remember right, he got one of the largest contracts as brought in as an undrafted free agent that end up getting that opportunity and brought onto the squad. So, yeah, big names that end up playing out really big for us last year. We're going to have to see that play out again this year. Phil, again, thank you so much for the stars, by the way. And I want to get to your comment next, man, because I think for me, what's I'm most excited about especially this rookie mini camp wise, probably the bottom half of our draft. Yes, Zade Barron, he's going to be exciting. And there'll be interesting things to talk about with him all throughout this little 3-day stint. RJ Harvey, I'm expecting big things from him. Even Pat Bryant, expecting big things from him. But when we start talking about Savion Jones, Q Robinson, Jeremy Crawshaw, Caleb Lohner, these are the guys that I really want to see. Starting from the bottom up, these are developmental guys, really, for the most part. I think Jeremy Crawshaw is probably pretty safe in the news that we maybe got today as well. But otherwise, these guys are very developmental. We got to see how they're used, how they're utilized, what they have in the tank. These were, in a lot of ways, kind of reaches. So for me, that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm excited about, that bottom end of the roster, and to see what we actually got, because there's a lot of speculation there. What do you think about the Jets in London? That's what Phil's talking about. He keeps hearing the speculation. We're going to get the Jets in London. Do you like the Jets in London game?
I mean, depends on, is it going to be on a Thursday night, or is it going to be on a Sunday? Short week on the road, traveling that far, I don't love it. I'll be honest, but I think if it's on a Sunday in London and you have time to get there to prepare and well enough, then I would be on board with it. But short week in traveling, Phil, if that ends up being the case, I'm not a fan of it. But we shall see. How that ends up coming out, we don't know exactly yet. London games, I always appreciate the NFL trying to expand, but it's hard on players to continue to travel. And you're talking about, especially with the Broncos, you're traveling at high altitude and then going over to London, where that, it's got a little bit of a change in climate over there too. So, that affects players' bodies too. So you have to kind of think about that, put yourselves in the players' standpoint and how it's going to affect them. That's what matters. Again, you want to go over there, you want to win a game. You got to take care of your body first and foremost. And traveling that far, I think, is it even takes an extra step up in doing so, and taking care of your body and eating right and whatnot.
Yeah, and the distractions and trying to get sleep, and you got maybe Russell Wilson that is doing knee highs in the aisles or anything. You never know what's going to be happening, on those long flights across the ocean. So I agree. The one thing, as we just end up talking about that bottom half of the roster, I mentioned Jeremy Crawshaw. Why don't we get Australia games, man? As big as that's been a poll, rugby players and the whole 9 yards. A little bit shorter jaunt maybe for some of these guys on the West Coast and a different atmosphere. We're not playing in soggy London. We're playing in maybe a little bit drier climate and maybe inside of a dome, especially in Australia. There's got to be opportunities. Let's head that direction. But I'm with you, man. It's just the travel. I've never liked the big travel. We always talk about how bad the Broncos are playing on the East Coast. Well, goodness, now we're going to go across another ocean on top of that, man. So I guess the nice thing is maybe it's going up against the Jets. You know what I mean? I don't think they're, expected to be as much, this year. I was just watching NFL's review of the top rosters after the NFL draft, and they have the Broncos ranked number 11. So, right near the top. And I think there's opportunity maybe against the opponent. But I don't like the conditions. I never liked the conditions of going all the way across. But great question, man.
Yes.
Good evening, Keith, Trevor, and Go Bo Bronco, says Mr. Michael Ronquillo. Thank you so much, Michael. I've been trying to keep up on all the amazing stars that everyone's been dropping, but if I miss you, I appreciate you. Just know that nonetheless. Kenny Kirkpatrick, I always like when they say, stuff like this. I don't want to pat myself on the back, which is what he's doing, patting himself on the back. But bye-bye, hack. Let the Crawshaw party start, man. If you didn't hear our recent signing of punter, all of a sudden I'm blanking the first name. Was it Matt Hack?
Matt Hack, yep.
That's what I thought. Okay, Matt Hack is no longer a Denver Bronco. I said it when we drafted a punter. That's your punter. I mean, you don't go out and draft punters and not have them be your punter. That's what you need to do, what you have to do. Yeah, that's your guy. You've invested way too much to go, oh, we made a mistake. Those guys usually go undrafted in those situations, and then you bring them in and say, oh, we made a mistake, and we're like, oh, dang. That's all right, though. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Kenny. Let the Crawshaw, magic, the party begin. A little Crawshaw magic in the Mile High. Excited to see what Crawshaw has to offer in the 5280 elevation here in Mile High City.
I mean, and also you invested a sixth round draft pick in the punter. I think that kind of told the story right there, where this was probably going to be your starting punter. Also, Matt Hack, I mean, just hasn't been on the field enough. I mean, he hasn't produced. That, Kenny's absolutely right. He hasn't produced enough. And so we questioned the signing when it happened. Keith, I remember being on here with you, when we ended up discussing the Matt Hack signing. And I said Riley Dixon's going to be a big loss. And those are big shoes to fill. We'll see if Crawshaw can be that guy. Again, I think it's a little risky going, with a rookie punter. You got to be dang sure that he's going to be able to produce, because you can't afford for your special teams to fall behind. So we shall see what ends up happening, with Crawshaw. If he turns out to play well and he ends up being the guy, at least he's under that rookie contract, and you don't have to pay him, top of the league as far as punter wise, which is not like a huge amount, but compared to other positions. But you get my point. It's a little bit cheaper there at punter if this guy ends up panning out, which all seems, and all signs right now point to where he can do a little bit of everything kind of punter. So I like what I'm hearing early on from Crawshaw, but again, need to see it on the field production-wise.
Yeah, absolutely. But that being said, though, lower in the boom, man. I think he has a 5+, 5.4, 5.3, if I remember correctly, hang time on that booming leg. And that was when he was playing where? In Florida. He's moving. He's coming up to the Mile High City. It'll be interesting to see what Crawshaw does. Lower in the boom also, Michael dropped 1,000 stars as he came in. And so got to give another big thank you out to Michael Ronquillo, an amazing supporter of the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. I'll even give it a little clap up, man, because week after week, episode after episode, almost from the very beginning, man. That's a guy that's been with us, and we appreciate it, man. And appreciate everyone helping us out and making sure that he gets some recognition in there as well, it looks like. So, as he points out, Darren Rizzi handpicked Jeremy Crawshaw from Florida as well. So, and Phil's sending more stars. So I got to figure out if Phil had more to stay in here. He's saying it would be an overseas game after a bye week for each team. It said it would be great if it was an over. That's that's the one thing that, I know there's a lot of manipulation and calculation and, certainly a lot of intrepidation as we all wait for, schedule releases May 14th right up around the corner. But trying to get everything worked in to what you're talking about, Phil, trying to get both teams after a bye week, that's when they get these over. It's difficult, man. It's really difficult to try to manipulate that, especially when stadiums already have, you know, I hate to say it, but someone like Taylor Swift coming in for a concert or something like that, it's like Morgan Wallen's coming in, it's like he can't play we can't play there on Thursday or on Sunday or whatever it happens to be. It's amazing all the manipulation, like I said, that has to happen. But I agree, Phil. It would be fantastic if we could make that happen.
Mm-hmm. And I think you also got to think about this: the different time zones. I mean, that could mess with anybody. I mean, you're talking about playing over there in London. You're playing at least Mountain Time. You're playing what 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I mean, really early game, maybe earlier than what, you originally would have played, of course, but just the different time zones, players got to get used to that. Coaches got to get used to that. And it's hard to do that with a short amount of days. Again, if you can be there a week or a little bit more time you're there, the better you can adjust to the different time zones. But that would, I'm sure for me, Keith, just kind of put myself in a player's perspective, from a player's perspective, the time zones would be tough to get used to as well.
Paul Schaefer brings up a question, but it brings up a little bit of news that we need to get to as well. Paul's coming in here and saying, is Ritter coming into camp just as a camp arm or maybe to improve this quarterback room? And we got news on Desmond Ritter today. We all expected him, but Trevor, he's now no longer expected now.
Yeah, in some schedule situation with Desmond Ritter ended up happening with him, so he will not be attending camp with the Broncos. Instead, it's going to be former Sean Payton, one of former Sean Payton's former players, just to say, Ian Book ends up being the guy that ends up coming in, the quarterback that tries out. So we'll see how Ian Book ends up doing. But yeah, Desmond Ritter, I know you guys talked about it on Tuesday, Keith.
Yeah.
I thought he's always had a lot of upside. I just think that the situations he's been put in, with Atlanta and then in LA with the Raiders have been very, very difficult for him. We hope that everything is going good for Desmond Ritter and hopefully he gets another opportunity elsewhere. I'm sure he will, but that was unfortunate news, that we end up getting, because I thought, and I put this in our side chat, Keith, I thought Desmond Ritter had a chance to be maybe a possible Zach Wilson from last year. Not necessarily taking him in the first round, but Desmond Ritter was a third-round pick, I believe, and a guy that under Sean Payton, you let him be that third quarterback on this roster, let him build up his value. Zach Wilson got paid this past offseason.
And the Denver Broncos will get paid. And the relief of compensatory picks, looks like we're in line for a couple of seventh-round picks because of Zach Wilson getting signed by the Miami Dolphins. Will get paid as well. So it just like Sean Payton said, he came out and he said he wanted to get Zach Wilson paid last offseason. He ended up getting him paid. The Denver Broncos getting a little bit paid. Biggie Bronco saying he backed out. Yes, he's, according to all reports, a scheduling conflict.
Yeah.
Hope everything's good with him. It's not like most players to pass up opportunities to come in and get a tryout with a team. So I know that he's had some issues in the past, and I don't mind saying that, but I just hope all the best for him because of it. I like Desmond Ritter. Atlanta was tough position, tough team to go to. He ends up going to Arizona after that for just a short stint. Sitting behind Kyler Murray, I don't think Arizona would have been the best opportunity either. And then the Las Vegas Raiders, who last year struggled a ton. So for him to have an opportunity with the Denver Broncos, I thought would be a great opportunity. But in comes Ian Book, hopefully more of a camp arm than I thought of Desmond Ritter, who I thought could possibly challenge Sam Ehlinger for that third position. Heck, Desmond Ritter might even push Jarrett Stidham a little bit, just based on age and what he's able to do with his legs. But that to an end, we're down to Ian Book, Sam Ellinger, and the like. So I guess that's what we're what we really need to get.
Oh, sorry, Keith. I think you cut out for a minute.
I think you did too.
Okay,
That's okay.
maybe it was both of us. But I mean, Keith, I'm going to ask you this and ask the Posse this too. The Broncos bringing in, they have Sam Ellinger now and Ian Book. I mean, we'll see if Ian Book ends up making the roster, but it seems like Sean Payton's put an emphasis on maybe keeping 3 quarterbacks again. Is this a possible sign that he might be keeping 3 quarterbacks again? I mean, Jarrett Stidham, they pay Jarrett Stidham pretty good backup quarterback money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think those guys are challenging Jarrett Stidham right now because of the money they're paying him. But I think it's more like Ian Book and Sam Ellinger battling for that to be that quarterback 3 on this roster. I think this might be, the early signs that Sean Payton might keep 3 quarterbacks going into next year.
Yeah, possibly. I just this is the other side of it that I see. Right, I see a lot of depth on this roster in a lot of different places, and I also see some places that I'm a little nervous about still, even after the draft, that I would like to have a little bit more depth. That linebacker position still just scares the crap out of me, Trevor.
Yeah.
I mean, we got Alex Singleton coming back from an injury and Dre Greenlaw coming back from an injury. It doesn't, and we've already seen Dre Greenlaw go through a setback. So, how quick is he going to be to the field, and how quality is he going to be in training camp, and all of that. There's just a lot of questions there. So I see a lot of depth at position. You wanted more defensive linemen. We went out and we got some at undrafted free agent defensive linemen. They might not have been the top pick that you wanted, Trevor, but at the same time, like you said, we need some rotation. We need some depth. We need some big guys up in the middle. We went out and got a few of these guys. So, I think this is the year where you really start focusing, and that third quarterback, if you need to get to that third quarterback, you're calling up guys on the couch. You're calling up other teams that have, players on the roster. Maybe Kirk Cousins is a draft pick swap, you know what I mean? Or to get Kirk Cousins. I don't know. You know what I mean? There's just opportunities abound if you really want to get into it. So for me, I think this is the year you don't have 3 quarterbacks, but you bring up a great, I guess, thought process, especially with the Desmond Ridder, Sam Ellinger. I mean, these are some quality names. You're not just bringing in we talked about John Macha last year that we brought in as a little bit of a tryout. It's not like that's your third string guy, right?
Yeah, well, but even Zach Wilson last year, they didn't invest a lot into him. I mean, what, a 7th round draft pick, to bring him in. And I know he was a former first round pick. I get that. There was upside was there, but I just wonder, you're bringing in, like you just said, Keith, established kind of names, in a way. I mean, not fully established like as their starting quarterbacks, but guys that have been around the block a little bit. So I don't know, for me, it's just something to kind of keep an eye out. Maybe, does Sean Payton end up keeping 3 quarterbacks again? Again, these guys got to end up panning out. They got to show out and show that they can make the 53-man roster. But I wouldn't put it past Sean Payton to keep 3 quarterbacks going next year if these guys end up, showing out and panning out. Ellinger and or Ian Book.
All right. Well, we have a horseman that's dropping stars. Figure since I'm in the posse, I would drop some stars. Do you guys think Clay Webb can make the team? I think he can beat out Alex Forsyth for backup center and special teams field goal attempts. What are your thoughts, man? Clay Webb, the top-rated undrafted free agent that we brought in was Clay Webb. Did my research. That's where it came out as, man. Jacksonville State had some past issues, skipped around a little bit, but highly productive guy. Is he better than Alex Forsyth, who's already been here a year? Is he pushing for Alex Forsyth's position?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be competition. I mean, I don't think that Alex Forsyth really necessarily needs to be penciled in to be the starter or to be the backup center, excuse me. But that's what we're talking about at this point, right? It's the whole depth thing. Clay Webb, I mean, at 6'3", 310, we'll see what he ends up doing. Again, maybe he's one of those players that ends up making this roster. You can never have too many offensive linemen, like you just said, Keith, because the Broncos have had over the last, I would say, couple years now, they've been relatively healthy on that offensive line. They haven't had to rely on that depth too much. Now, here and there, sparingly, like Mike McGlinchey injury last year, they've had to, but it's really not been bad, when it comes to injuries on the offensive line. So if you can continue to add depth to that offensive line, the better. But again, he's going to have to beat a guy out like Alex Forsyth. Alex Forsyth has played in the league and has been established himself as a backup. So it's one of those positional battles, though, and one of those things where you're talking about depth. You can always add more depth.
Always add more depth. Everyone's giving Kenny K some props here on his call out here. I'm going to give a few more call outs because I'll just go down the list. Johnny Walker, outside linebacker out of Missouri, was the next highest ranked prospect. I'll just go through a few and just tell me if any of these guys point out. I'll stop with the one that I really like. Xavier Truss, offensive guard out of Georgia. He was also brought in. He was the next ranked guy. But the guy that I have my eye on, and it's because of what I just got done saying, Kareem Reed, linebacker out of Utah. Another guy that'll be able to come in and possibly maybe compete for a position on there. A lot of guys on this list, man. It'll be tough to try to figure out who will be our Lavelle Bailey, who will be our Frank Crum, who will be our Blake Watson off this roster. But those are kind of the top-rated guys that we brought in since that point.
Yeah, I mean, and you're kind of starting to see that trend a little bit, Keith. Linebackers. I mean, you just talked about the concern with Alex Singleton and Dre Greenlaw. Is this a point where we see another undrafted guy be able to make this roster like Lavelle Bailey did a year ago? I mean, we shall see. When I look at the list, though, I see there's a lot of linebackers on this list and that tells me that the Broncos want more competition there, bring in more of those linebackers at that position in particular.
Yeah. That's one position. Another one that kind of stuck out to me, by the way, they also brought in J.B. Brown, linebacker out of Kansas, on that list as well. Maybe another name to look out for. But the wide receivers that they brought in. So they brought in 3 wide receivers. I'm going to have to get my eyes adjusted here because Courtney Jackson, I'm sorry, a wide receiver out of Arkansas State. Jared Juwan Newton, wide receiver out of Toledo, and then Jaquan Davis, wide receiver out of North Carolina Central. The thing that I guess that I was looking at, especially when it came to 2 of these prospects being like 5'10".
Yeah.
More smaller guys, more speedster type of guys. When you look across this roster and everyone said, geez, look at the big guys that you could put out on the field. You can put a Cortland Sutton out there. You can put a Troy Franklin out there. You can put Evan Ingram out there. You can put Devon Bailey out there. You can put A.T. Perry out there. Look at all these big guys that we could have. But we don't have a whole lot of small speed guys when it comes to wide receiver. We brought 3 wide receivers in, all of them 6 foot or smaller, by the way. Nobody above 6 foot. So a little bit faster, maybe receivers, maybe guys that can get in and out of the cuts and maybe break the top off. I had to do a little bit more research as I look into these guys, but I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah, I mean, and they did the opposite in the draft, right? Pat Bryant's not a speedster. 6'2", 6'3", from Mr. Pat Bryant. And you have Devon Bailey, you have Troy Franklin. So you have enough length. Cortland Sutton, of course. You have enough length, in your wide receiver room right now. You're looking for a little bit more speed, I think. And maybe this is a challenge to Marvin Mims. If any of these wide receivers are going to make this roster, I think it's going to be, we're talking about the undrafted guys, of course. It's going to be to push Marvin Mims to be even better because I think Marvin Mims there's still a lot to be proven with him. Against special teams, yes, he's very good on special teams. He's got to establish himself as a wide receiver. And going into next year, I think that's going to be, have to be a staple point if this Broncos offense is going to have success.
Yeah. I was wondering where that was going to come from. I like the speedster type of guys. I like the Marvin Mims. I like what Troy Franklin can bring, but he's more of a larger body type of guy. So we don't have a whole lot of these guys on our roster. If we can add a speedster type of wide receiver, I looked at what the Chiefs did. with Xavier Worthy, and how we all just went, "Oh no, that's exactly what we need. That's all we need is the Chiefs having a guy like Xavier Worthy, man. Why did the Chiefs get a guy like Xavier Worthy? How come we can't? Let's go find ourselves a guy like Xavier Worthy, man." I wanted to hit this one. I see comments flying in. Phil says, I would still like to get a big nose tackle. Now, there was one nose tackle that was brought in out of UT Martin. Christian Dowell is a 6'2", 320-pound guy that we brought in out of Memphis, Tennessee. And that might be your guy that you can maybe see getting onto this roster. Trevor, you said it. You were pushing. You were pounding the table when it came draft. You wanted that defensive lineman. You wanted that guy up in the middle. You weren't happy with just re-signing DJ Jones and calling it macaroni. We're going to be fine. You wanted that big body, just like Phil's talking about here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that these guys that they brought in right now, I'll be honest, I don't think they're going to make this roster. I'm not really overly impressed when I, look at these guys. I mean, yes, you have one big body defensive tackle in Christian Dowell, but I mean, for me, athletic wise, it doesn't really, there's not enough there for me anyways. And so I think with your nose tackles and your defensive linemen, and especially defensive tackles, you want that athleticism in there and you want that upside. I just don't know, banking on an undrafted guy, a defensive lineman up front is something that I would want to do from the Broncos. Again, you're one injury away from really kind of questioning that, even if, you're bringing back literally the same group as you did a year ago, that, there were some cracks kind of there in that foundation when a couple really good running backs around the league ran all over you. So I just think that's, for me, Keith, remains to be a position that I think they need to continue to look at and get more depth on, because you really are banking on Rodriguez to be that depth guy behind DJ Jones, behind Malcolm Roach. So, I mean, not a whole lot of competition as of right now in that defensive lineman room, D tackle in particular, and it's something I'm still concerned about to this day.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I'll be 100% honest. I don't blame you. I know I was pounding the table for a lot of different positions, and maybe defensive tackle wasn't the one that rang through all of our podcasts, but it's one that I thought was a position of need. I was great getting some linebackers, but that's your second line of defense. And I thought that we could get a little bit better on that front line of defense. Agreed, more than DJ Jones, I liked Malcolm Roach. I thought that he did fantastic. Didn't get into the rotation as much to take over. DJ Jones gets the big contract, and like you said, Rodriguez is the guy now that we're kind of relying on to maybe bring up the back half of that defensive tackle position. So maybe Christian Dowell comes in. Michael really likes the offensive lineman Xavier Truss out of Georgia that the Broncos brought in. A lot of people excited about Loner. Biggie Bronco, he says, I think Sean Payton wants to play big boy ball, run the ball with big wide receivers so they can go up and make the catch. Definitely prove out to be so. Talking about, though, big boys. No, I'm going to talk about big girls. That's Pearl over at Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets has been your headquarters for Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, State Gold at wholesale prices for over 34 years. Once a nationwide company, now they're just in your backyard. Northern Colorado, Southern Wyoming. They're doing shows. So if you see like something happening out at your fairgrounds, there's a gem or a mineral show, there's a dog show going on, my guess is Morgan Trinkets is probably there if you're in that Northern Colorado, Southern Wyoming area. And maybe you're like, hey, Keith, I don't live there. What the heck do I do? I want all that stuff that Morgan Trinkets has to offer. Well, it's okay, man. Head on over to Etsy. And over on Etsy, you can check out Morgan Trinkets as well. All you have to do is type in Morgan Trinkets Co. That's Morgan Trinkets Co. over on Etsy. And bam, you're there. You're checking out everything that Pearl has to offer, including silver, sterling silver, 100% sterling silver. She has that as well. All orders over $50 are shipped absolutely free. All major credit cards are accepted. Man, I'm telling you what, if you're into Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, Estate Gold at wholesale prices, or that amazing 100% sterling silver, check out Morgan Trinkets today. That's Morgan Trinkets, Morgan Trinkets Co. over on Etsy. Check them out, and you'll be happy. Just like many of our viewers, subscribers, the posse have been excited with what they've gotten through Morgan Trinkets. So let's get to some of these guys, man. I want to talk to a little bit about, because he's been brought up a ton here right above. First and foremost, Caleb Lohner. This is a guy that we don't have that deep tight end class, or that deep tight end group that we've been enamored with. I would say there was a lot of hype around Lucas Kroll last year, heading into training camp, as Sean Payton was asked about, and didn't really pan out. So what are your thoughts, man, on this tight end group? Caleb Lohner may have a legit shot.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't sign any tight end as an undrafted free agent. Any undrafted free agent tight ends, they didn't bring in one. I think that goes to show what they believe in Caleb Lohner. I mean, I think that this is a guy, some say, oh, stash him on the practice squad. I don't know about that. I just, if he has the upside that you want, I think that they may have to stash him on the roster, because you don't want to take that chance another team takes him. And if you got to develop him, fine. But it's kind of like the case, where you got to be able to believe in his upside. And I think the Broncos do. I mean, this just goes to show me no tight ends that, undrafted free agents that you brought in. So, I mean, you got to be able to believe in that tight end room. And Evan Ingram's has injury issues. I mean, there's no question about that. He's got to be able to stay healthy. And, so I think that you don't know what you're going to, I mean, what you have in Adam Troutman, but you want a little bit more. Because you're one injury away, one Evan Ingram injury away from being the same situation you were a year ago with Adam Troutman, Lucas Kroll. So I think that if you can get somebody that can emerge from those guys, like a Caleb Lohner, the better. I just think it's going to take him a couple years before he gets there. I think he's going to need a little bit more development, which is fine, because I think that can possibly pan out down the line if the Broncos truly believe in him.
What do you think about Caleb Lohner getting this one? Shannon Sharp's number 84.
Ooh. I think that's pushing the envelope a little bit.
Isn't that amazing, man? That's still sitting out there
Yeah.
for the taking. You can take Shannon Sharp's 84 as a Bronco, man.
Yeah.
Who does it say something when you take number 84 as a rookie coming into the Denver Broncos? Or do I dare say Caleb Lohner has no idea who Shannon Sharp is because of the age disparity? Maybe because he's in the media, you know who Shannon Sharp is. What are your thoughts on Caleb Lohner selecting number 84? I don't think that's a number that you give up. I would say that's one of the things I say for everyone who's really excited. There's a lot of numbers that change once cut downs happen and you get to change. Audric Estime started at 20 or 37, end up 23, just as an example. But I don't think you give up 84 as Caleb Lohner. And Pat Bryant is number 13, what he got in college. Michael's also talking about that. I think that's a lock as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, it's a number. He's got to go out there and prove it, because otherwise it's just going to be Shannon Sharp's number, which, again, it's hard to really be like a Shannon Sharp guy, but you got to go out there and prove that you can be as good or even better than Shannon Sharp. And we'll see what he is. Again, I think he's got a lot of upside. The size, I love the size as a tight end. That's perfect size, 6'7" tight end. And then go up and get the ball. And an athlete, you take that chance on him. But I love maybe the confidence in himself a little bit, maybe with that number. I'm pretty sure he knows who Shannon Sharp is. The confidence level, I think, speaks for itself. Though I am really curious to hear from him and hear him speak and see what exactly that confidence level is. But I think this is a nice boost to that confidence with wearing number 84.
Maybe not everybody knows who Lawrence Taylor is. Maybe that could be the excuse for asking for that number. But yeah, getting 84, big shoes to fill. But I like the way you said it, man. If he doesn't do anything, it's just Shannon Sharp's number anyway.
Mm-hmm.
you got to go out there. You got to earn it, take it, make it your own. To where they're like, oh yeah, there was two guys that ran with 84 on their back for the Denver Broncos. There was
Yeah.
Shannon Sharp and Caleb Lohner. That's a big, big shoes to fill, man. That's a big, but hats off to him, man, because I think he put himself in that position. Michael's also pointing out that number 39 for Jeremy Crawshaw needs to
Yeah.
change. Agree?
Yeah, it's a little rough. I will say, Michael, I think I agree with you. But I mean, again, if he's the production's there, the number don't matter because he'll end up making that number great. And people are not going to dislike number 39 for the Denver Broncos if Crawshaw ends up turning out to be the punter, hopefully that the Broncos end up are wanting him to be.
Yeah. And just rock the 99. I like the
There you
99
go.
punter. That would be awesome. I don't know if that's possible. They should go out there and get that. That feels
There you
great.
go.
That feels right, man. That feels right. Paul's saying that 13 is his lucky number as well, and I like that, man. Let's get into some of these other guys, man.
Mhm.
I wanted to talk just a little bit about this because I think there's a lot of speculation still on our first pick in this draft, Zade Barron, as he goes out there, especially now in rookie minicamp. Does he go out there and he take all the snaps at corner? Do they wander him? Do they put him to the outside? Do they put him to safety? Do they, this guy has the ability to really be a piece that you can move all over the field. I know some teams like to lock in on one position and then to try to diversify, but you went out and you invested a lot. He was the 12th overall value according to the NFL Network. When we got him at 20. What do you do with Jade Barron?
I mean, you want to see him get some run, but I don't think you want to necessarily run him into the ground. I mean, because he's going to end up being your starting cornerback, more than less. So, yeah, I think you got to play around with him a little bit. I mean, that's your first round pick. He's a lock to make a roster. He's going to end up likely starting for you. Move him around a little bit. Kind of get a little creative with it. See what he can do. See what he can do on the field. You've seen the tape. You've talked to him behind the scenes a little bit. See what he can do on the field in front of you, in front of all your coaches, and go from there. But you've got to be careful. Just don't run him into the ground because you want to get these other guys. We talked about a couple undrafted corners that we talked about here as well, and some other guys you're going to be bringing in to fight for roster spots. And so what you're gonna likely get with Jahdae Barron. He's going to be a starter. Be creative, but you need to see what you have and other guys on the field as well. So you're probably going to want to kind of spread those snaps out a little bit. Maybe Jahdae Barron gets a few looks out there here and there, but I think the Broncos are pretty confident what they got with him. And again, you got you got a training camp coming up as well, so you got to be careful on how you use these guys early on.
Yeah, you'll have all the OTAs and the
Yeah.
whole 9 yards to get into, but for me, there's something about this guy that seems a little bit magical, and I wanted to see him come out there. Now, if you're saying just go ahead, line him up, he's going to be that corner guy. You got everything else figured out. That just let him focus on that one spot. What does that mean for Jaquan McMillan?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I think you can move both guys around, though. I mean, Jahdae Barron, because you can move him out to the outside. I mean, I
That's
don't
what I'm
think.
saying. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. How much time do you want to get him on that outside, or do you want to eliminate Jaquan McMillan right off the bat by just saying, hey, we're taking our 20th overall pick, we're locking him into that slot spot. McMillan will have to find a spot. Or are you finding more ways to move Jahdae Barron around so that you can continue to have McMillan? I was just watching highlights of McMillan, closing out that Browns game. That was going the wrong direction for the Denver Broncos, 7-5 Denver Broncos at the time against a 2-win Cleveland Browns team. And it was Jaquan McMillan that wrapped it up for us. There's things that people forget about Jaquan McMillan. I don't know if I want to see him necessarily just relegated off the field and plug it in this guy. So that brings again in the question: how much time are you going to give Jahdae Barron at each position? As a rookie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think you move inside and outside. I think he's a little small for safety, but I think he can play in the box, of course, as well. That's one of the great things you have about Jahade Barron. You can move him a little bit of everywhere. And I don't think any job should be safe, though. Jagar McMillan, Riley Moss. I think you can use these guys in a plethora of different ways. You can get creative if you're Vance Joseph. Everybody talks about, the linebackers and the defensive linemen you have up front. Look at your secondary and how creative you can be there and how many different skill sets you have in that secondary. That's one of the special things you have. And a guy like Jahade Barron, you can move him around and he can still play at a very, very high level. I don't think it'll be safety, but I think inside, outside, he can play and play at a high level. Now it's just Riley Moss, Jaquan McMillan, which one of those two maybe ends up being those guys that step up so they can see more snaps maybe over the other.
All right. Biggie Bronco gives me the most thought-provoking statement, comment, question of the night. Or they start using PS2 as that joker and move him all over the place in that secondary. And so other players can't key on that side, on the side that he's on. I'm sorry. I'll just read the comment and try not to change it. I'd probably be better. There's something to be said about that. Riley Moss and Jahade Barron being the lockdown, quote unquote, outside guys, right? And then Patrick Surtain floats to wherever he feels. He pushes Jahade Barron to the inside, takes over that outside role, sees the matchup that's better on, Riley Moss and pushes him out of the way and someone else takes over. We haven't seen a corner like that necessarily play, but PS2 could possibly be that guy. It's thought-provoking, Biggie. I like the way you're thinking here, buddy. A little outside the box, man, trying to make those lines connect. All those dots connects when you only have 3 lines or whatever it happens to be.
I mean, I think you want PS2 on the opposing team's best wide receiver. So for me, if I'm VJ, PS2 is following that wide receiver either way. Their best wide receiver, you want to make sure you lock that opposing wide receiver down. And that's one of the things that drove me crazy, Keith, in that Cleveland Browns game this past year was Jerry Jeudy was far and few and away the Browns' best wide receiver, yet PS2 wasn't following him to shut him down. You had different guys trying to cover Jerry Jeudy, ended up hurting the Broncos defense. No, you are covering the best team's wide receiver. You are getting paid elite money to do so. You're following that, the opposing team's best wideout, best receiving threat downfield to shut him down, shut that side of the field down. Now you have Riley Moss, Jahade Barron to kind of follow that, and maybe even Jaquan McMillan. But PS2, I mean, that's your best cornerback. He's, for me, got to follow the best guy and be able to cover him at a high level.
And maybe you had that opportunity before. We didn't necessarily do that last year. We tried it majority of the time, but it wasn't 100%. We didn't just say PS2's locked up on one guy. We played sides a lot of times. So I think this would give the opportunity for him to float to wherever he needs. Paul's coming in. I'm going to shorten it a little. Well, maybe we could do all 3. Mims, Ingram, RJ, I'll say offensive jokers. And is Barron a joker as well? What are your thoughts on that? Do we have jokers, especially on that offensive side? That's where I want to focus. Mm-hmm. Do you consider Mims, Ingram, and RJ all jokers in this offense for Sean Payton?
It's a great question. I mean, I think Evan Ingram's in that joker role. I think that's what he's brought in to be. Marvin Mims, RJ Harvey, I don't think they're there yet. I think Mims has a chance. I think we've seen Mims a little bit this past season. Maybe what it would look like. We'll see if we see it more this coming up season. I think Mims and Ingram, yes. RJ Harvey, I don't think so yet, because I think with RJ Harvey and Audric Esme, they're going to use those two in the backfield together to form that 1-2 combination. So I think, and George Payton said this as well, RJ Harvey just has to be able to improve his blocking so that he can possibly be maybe a 3-down back down the road.
What does that running back room look like, man, before we start wrapping it up, since we got to that, man? You just talked about RJ Harvey and Audric Estime, splitting time in that back. I still look at it more like Reggie Bush and Evan Ingram. And in that regard, I think that RJ Harvey could be very much a joker in this role. I think that he takes more of a joker role than Mims does. But Evan Ingram is that guy that we brought in to be that guy. And will be that guy in a lot of different ways. The tight end that, Sean Payton likes to have and utilize and use
Mhm.
the way that Sean Payton does.
Mhm.
So Evan Ingram has to take top bill, but I would put RJ Harvey up there just because I think he's going to have that Reggie Bush type of role, and Evan Ingram is going to be that Audric Estime. But where does that put the rest of the running back room in your estimation, man? Because there's a few other names that we had in here last year, and now all of a sudden you start shoving people around a little bit.
Yeah, Jaleel McLaughlin, and then Blake Watson as well, and also Tyler Bidet. I think those guys are probably scrambling for roster spots at this point. I mean, Jaleel McLaughlin, I love his speed, but I mean, again, it's just like hasn't really been able to put it all together. Would love to see him, end up making this roster, and so many of the other guys as well. Tyler Bidet, I think he got a little bit of an opportunity last year, but just after that injury against the Jets, could never get back onto the field and be able to show what he had. And then Blake Watson, I mean, just really hasn't shown a lot. So I think you have to be able to take a step up in that running back room, though, Keith and Posse, this year, if you want Bo Nix to be successful, because we've talked about it before. Bo Nix was great his rookie year, right? Year two, teams have got a year of film on Bo Nix now. They know what some of his strengths are. They have a better idea on how to game plan against him. You're going to have to be able to run the football better than you did this past year, or this offense is going to unfortunately struggle.
Yeah, I'm counting big on RJ Harvey. I'm counting big on Evan Ingram, but that Evan Ingram one is the one that scares me the most, man. It's the one that I have. This is a guy that's missed 4 or more games in multiple seasons.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy that now like you mentioned, Caleb Lohner is all of a sudden a lot more important on this roster if we're going to be a receiving threat at the tight end position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have blocking tight ends we can put out there. We can bring back Adam Troutman. We have that opportunity, but that's not the direction we want to go, Broncos. Last Facebook stars from Michael about pay extension for Cortland Sutton, Zach Allen, and Nick Bonito before the price gets too high. What are your thoughts on this, man? These are 3 guys that are out there. Cortland Sutton, we've been playing around with. Zach Allen had an off the charts season last year. Everything we ever could have expected from Zach Allen, we got last year from Zach Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Bonito seems like he's turned that corner. Last year, this time, probably me and you sitting here talking, saying, can Nick Bonito be that guy that sets the edge? Do we need to go a different direction? Is he only the speed rusher? Is it Baron Browning? Is it Jonathan Cooper? Is it Nick Bonito? We don't know who it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Bonito had a pretty good season for himself. When do we pay these guys? Who comes first? Who's the biggest priority? I'll let you hit it, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, remember last year, right around the summertime, Keith, training camp, when we heard about Quinn Miners, Pastor Tan, some of these other guys started getting locked up.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's some of your best players. But I'm just I guess my point here is George Payton loves to lock up players around this time of the year, and so I think it's very possible all 3 of them get paid. This coming up summer into training camp and whatnot before the start of the season. I would say Zach Allen's probably priority number 1. I don't think he gets talked about enough how special of a player he is. I think he had a fantastic season at a premium position, and you haven't really reinvested into that position this offseason so far. So Zach Allen for me is priority number 1. You got to get him locked up long term. As far as Cortland Sutton, yeah, I mean, I think the state of your wide receiver room, you kind of are like it's Cortland Sutton and a bunch of guys that still have have upside, but still have left more left in the end of the tank to prove. I like Cortland Sutton a lot, and I would love to see him back. I think that's Bo Nix's one of his favorite targets to throw the ball to. And I think Nick Bonito. Yeah, I mean, if you fully believe in Nick Bonito as an edge rusher, that he could be that elite edge rusher because he's gonna get paid the bag. It's an edge rusher. It's a premium position.
Yeah.
And I think you lock him up. But for me, I don't know. I'm kind of on that cusp of maybe I wait a little bit into the season to see what Nick Bonito can do production-wise before I go ahead and give him a big contract because you are guaranteeing him a lot of money, and you don't want that production to drop if you're going to be paying him at a premium position.
Yeah. It seems like it's not what the Broncos do as of lately, though. They go out and hats off to them for the guys that they like. They go out regardless of position. They go out and they get them paid. And why I say hats off to them is because they got ahead of a lot of contracts. Locking up PS2 when they did was a steal. If he would have waited until the end of the season, be talking about PS2 getting a contract extension, then we would have been talking whole different numbers. That offseason just blew up that cornerback position, and PS2 is looking like one of the better values now long term.
Mm-hmm.
Do we get a better value on these guys? To me, because of the age, the one that makes me the most nervous is Courtland Sutton. And I keep going back to that. But he's also, like you said, that security blanket.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to get him taken care of. But I think it's going to be not the happiest contract. I don't think Courtland Sutton's going to be running through the streets with the big contract that he got from the Denver Broncos.
No. Well, Go ahead. Sorry. No, I was just going to say, well, and they haven't really like spent big in that wide receiver room yet. So maybe is that a sign that they're going to pay Courtland Sutton long term and pay him the money that he deserves? Because no doubt about it, the last 2 years, we got to give Courtland Sutton credit. 2 different quarterbacks, and the production's still been there. I mean, I'm not saying that he's, maybe a big time number one, but he is this team's number one on this roster currently. It's Courtland Sutton and a bunch of guys got to prove themselves. I mean, that's what it is. A bunch of young players, a lot of upside, but they've got to be able to produce on the field. So Courtland Sutton, Zach Allen, I'm a little bit more paying, early on. Nick Bonito, for me, I would like to wait because guess what? Remember Jonathan Cooper's contract extension? That was in season a year ago. Something to keep in mind.
Very, very true. Very, very true. But if I had to go anywhere, I could be going right here where Phil's dropping stars. Because I feel this is how I feel. And it's kind of a mix of what you said and a mix of what I said. Right now, I'd pay Zach Allen. I think that's the guy. And I don't think it's expensive for him and his position. But overall, you're not paying wide receiver and quarterback and cornerback and edge rusher type of money. It's going to be a little less expensive than that. You can handle getting Zach Allen paid. But I just talked about those other 2 positions. Edge rusher, wide receiver. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to be in a wait and see mode on Nick Bonito. He could be a Jonathan Cooper. That's a great call out. A Jonathan Cooper type of sign. If he continues his pathway, and we're talking week 4, week 5, week 6, okay, let's get them all taken care of. Let's get this wrapped up before it gets any further along. But I'm right there with Sutton. Sutton, you can't really wait on though. Right now, I pay Allen, Bonito, and Sutton. Sutton needs pretty much a contract to get him in the door. And so it's the one that probably takes the biggest priority, but it's the one that I think is going to be the toughest negotiation. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think that's going to be a big one.
I think Sutton will be the cheapest out of all 3 of those, though. That's the thing. So, I mean, yeah, you're talking about paying big money for wide receiver, but he'll be the cheapest, in my opinion, out of all 3 of those guys. Premium position, edge rusher, premium position with, on defensive line with Zach Allen.
True. What do you if you had a guesstimate before we get out of here, and I'll get you some last words, what do you think the average per year is going to take for a Sutton contract?
I'm going to say anywhere from the $23 to $26 million a year.
It tells you exactly where Nick Bonito and Zach Allen are going to be getting paid.
Yep. Yeah.
So, well, there you go, man. Because I thought you were going to come in lower than that, to make all those numbers work. But those numbers are probably about right, man. You're not going to get Courtland Sutton on an $18 million a year contract, man. Not with what everybody else is getting paid in the league.
Yeah,
we have to pay some big boy money now.
Not unless he's willing to take a little bit of a pay cut. And that's another question you ask him, man. I know I think he wants the security long term, but would he be willing to take a little bit of a pay cut to stay a Bronco for life and forever? They'll play alongside Bo Nix, possibly win a Super Bowl. That's the next thing you got to kind of sell on Courtland Sutton is, that package that I just talked about right there, kind of trying to sell him, maybe take a little bit less to come back. Because I think players, you have that strong culture. Part of that is players may take a little bit less to come back.
Pearl, might as well answer them all. Well, let's just go this far. How much will Allen get paid? average per year? How much will Benito get average per year if we were to wrap up a contract right now? What are your thoughts on those numbers?
Zach Allen, that's tough. I would say 32, probably right around 32 million,
I'll say
probably plus.
34 off the top of my
Yeah.
head. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm right in the same ballpark. So
Yeah.
Benito,
Probably right around 30 million, I would say.
yeah,
28, 30 million.
yeah, I had 28, 27 in my head.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's, I mean, it's big boy money now. It's
Yeah.
big boy money, And hey, Broncos country, at least for me, tells you got a good team.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Tells you that you have players that you want to sign. Tells you that you have players that you truly believe in, you want to invest in. They're the right culture fit, as we've been talking about again and again, as Sean Payton has completely changed this Denver Broncos organizations. Also, hats off and shout out to the Walter and Penner ownership group that's made a lot of it possible as well. But man, we got the right people coming in. If you're saying to your GM, you're the coach, we need to get this guy locked up, and you're all in agreement, says something, man. It says something about where you're at in your organization. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. Trevor, we do need to get out of here, man. I can't believe it's already been an hour. I want to talk about more players, but we'll have more time, man. It's the off season keeps rolling.
Yep, absolutely. And speaking of UDFAs, the Broncos end up signing. I'll throw a name out there, a guy that I like, and it's not a position that necessarily that people talk about enough after the draft, but Jaden Robinson, the cornerback out of Oregon State, I like this guy, and I think that he can make this team possibly on special teams very good athlete. It's a name to watch, I think, as we move forward.
I like it, man. I like it. Picking those names off that list, like we said. I think there was actually 4. There was a linebacker mock that was actually held over from last year's undrafted free agents as well. That was brought over and was on at least the practice squad. Alec Mock, linebacker, if you remember the name. So 4 guys last year. 3 guys that we really know that made a difference to this roster. We'll see what comes out of this one, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what comes out of this rookie minicamp. Keep your eyes out on X. I'm sure there's going to be some clips if they get the access to do any recording. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what these rookies are going to bring. All these undrafted free agents. It's exciting time. But pads and helmets, man. Pads and helmets. Trevor, help get us out of here. What do you got before we leave, man?
Absolutely. One, I think we end up actually hearing from all the rookies tomorrow, rookie minicamp. So that'll be great to hear what all they have to say, and we'll be able to break that down next week for everybody. But no, big shout out, big thanks to everybody in the posse for being amazing, being supportive, whether you're watching live, giving stars, watching after the fact, after we go live. I mean, it's just, we really, really appreciate it. And it really means a lot to us. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. So many great mothers out there, grandmothers that are mothers, whatnot, aunts that are mothers. I mean, just big shout out to everybody. Happy Mother's Day to everyone and all the great mothers out there. And we'll see everybody next time. And as always, go Broncos.
Man, love that mile high salute, Trevor. Appreciate it, man. We go live every Tuesday, every Friday, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are on YouTube. We're on Facebook. You can catch us afterwards right there on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Take us with you on the go. I've been pumping some iron lately. I might take the podcast with me. I don't know, Trevor. But honestly, man, we're out there. We're trying to make it easy and have every opportunity to listen to us, and hope you enjoy us. We appreciate everybody in the posse. Phil and Michael, who I know gave stars, anybody else who happened to be there giving stars, we appreciate it. Everybody who is in with their thoughts, their comments, their questions. You plugged us right along for an amazing hour. Happy Mother's Day, as Trevor said, to all the moms, grandmas, aunts, sisters, you name it. We appreciate y'all out there taking care of us. I know it was moms and sisters and, well, my wife down the hall that takes care of me most days. So appreciate y'all, moms. But like I said, we do need to get out of here. Can't wait to see y'all again. Again, we get out of here one way only. Make sure you keep those boots in the stirrups, guns in the holsters, and of course, those Denver Broncos in your heart. Until next time, which will be Tuesday, Can't wait to see you again. Have a great weekend, everybody. We're going to get out of here. Good night.